Assalamu alaikum everyone, this is Hassam Munir and I'm recording this brief video to give you an overview of the topic of the paper that I have just published with Yaqeen Institute, Alhamdulillah. So the topic of the paper is sort of the factors and mechanisms of the spread of Islam throughout the world historically. Now, as that description might suggest, this is a very structural paper. So we're looking at the different factors such as trade, such as intermarriage, such as migration, the role of influencers, the role of da'wah itself, da'wah as in the communication of the message of Islam to non-Muslims, as well as Islam's emphasis on unity and justice and the universality of Islam. So these are the different primary factors in the spread of Islam historically that are discussed in this paper. And it's very much a important discussion, not only to respond to the Islamophobic argument, which is basically that Islam spread by the sword, and the only reason Islam is so prevalent in the world today is because of forced conversions throughout history. So not only to dispel with that argument, which we started in the first paper in this series and now continues in the second paper, but also to inspire and inform the important da'wah work that Muslims continue to do today, as well as appreciate the diversity of the Muslim Ummah and the sort of interconnectedness of Muslim communities in very different parts of the world historically. So this is something that comes out of this discussion as well. And just to give you a brief example, it is very likely that the first Muslims in what we now call South Africa were Rohingya Muslims, or Muslims from the Arakan coast in Southeast Asia. So again, there's these very interesting stories and dynamics that emerge. And one particular takeaway, I think something that is important for us to recognize in the research that I did, was the thesis of Professor Richard Bulliet, which he published in 1979 in his book Conversion to Islam in the Medieval Period. And his thesis basically describes in the early period of Islamic history, so the first few centuries, and in the areas that we would know as the Middle East, North Africa, and Spain, how Islam was adopted. And he uses sort of bibliographical dictionaries and the shifts in name usage that are noticeable in the course of these bibliographical dictionaries. So, for example, he creates an S-curve with early adopters, and then a steady rise, and then a saturation and stabilization of the adoption of Islam. All of this is sort of explained in the paper itself, but what's important to realize is that it gives a very strong demographic empirical argument that suggests that Islam could not have solely spread by the sword, as many Islamophobic claims put forward, but that there must have been more complex factors. And this is what it's really all about, appreciating the complexity of this transformative process in human history, and what those factors were, again, are what I am describing in this paper. And I'm greatly appreciative of all the thoughts that you guys will have to offer in response to this paper. So I'm really looking forward to that. I can't wait to sort of engage with what you have to contribute to this discussion. And I'm also very grateful for the opportunity to explore this important topic. And it's very important that we continue to study this topic, again, because it will also inspire and inform our own da'wah work, which is very important. So I'm looking forward to continuing in this field of research, and I hope you guys can stay with me and contribute to my research as well. So jazakumullahu khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.